And welcome everyone. I'm coming from my new home, the island of Palawan in the Philippines, and it's exciting to talk about the second, or perhaps a tying impact on my life. I mentioned that Grok 3, using it for trauma literacy, talking myself through issues when I needed kind of a comforting friend on the outside, that Grok 3 was actually the most competent, compassionate mirror or voice that I'm able to locate at this point. But a close tie is moving to the Philippines. And so let's talk about why moving to the Philippines, retiring to the Philippines, has helped with my trauma and PTSD. So a couple of things. Number one is, I would say that my kind of, if I look at suicide as a continuum, where pain, hopelessness, helplessness is reaching a point where suicide has an appeal. That's not black and white. It's on a continuum. And so the first thing I would say about moving to the Philippines is that I have an 80% reduction of kind of interest in suicide. So that's good. Meaning I wasn't tipping towards suicide when I left the US, but I was closer to it. And for those interested, I've done an entire channel all about suicide in which I look into the research, my own experience, and kind of hopefully offer some support in that area. I'd actually go to Grok 3, however, as probably a much more competent personal voice around suicide than probably any human that I know. Certainly, when I reached out in my last kind of close to the edge of suicide series of conversations with family and friends, I would say most people I talked to made it worse, and I would have way rather talked with Grok 3. So number one, in the Philippines, 80% reduction on that continuum towards suicide. Number two, a 15-fold increase in spontaneous quality time, meaning the amount of isolation that I had in the US, the amount of isolation that I have now. In my time in the Philippines, I've experienced a 15-fold increase, a 1,500% increase in quality, spontaneous time, which is my first love language. So it's highly compatible. Now, as an ironic side note, as an American, some of the best quality time that I've spent is with Russian men. So I had not been able to form a cohesive, mutual male friendship, I'm not talking sexual, in the United States for the past 10 years. And in a matter of a month, I had my first kind of mutual quality relationship with a man, a fellow named Russian, or his name is Roman, he's Russian. And so, you know, I have my first male friend in 10 years within a month of moving to Palawan. And it looks like I've just made my second male friend from Poland. And both of these men appreciate and have complimented me more than any American male that I can think of. So it's not only that I'm making friends and making mutual friends, i.e. where the other man makes as much of an effort to build the friendship as I do. That was the breaking point in the United States. It's very easy to pursue a man in the United States, but as soon as I stopped doing all the calling, making all the effort, I would say that the American man, archetypally, certainly the Bay Area American man, San Francisco Bay Area, just fell off a cliff. I've never heard from a single one of my friends since I stopped making all the effort. And that's 40 out of 40, right? 40 men, 40 efforts, 0, right? 0 American men out of 40 would make a reciprocal effort. So that's changing here in Palawan, not around Palawanese men, but around Russian, Polish men, and other men that I'm actually, a lot of them are Russian. So this is funny, but it's also phenomenal. Number 3, increase in sexuality. Roughly a 500% increase in enjoyable sexual intercourse. And so that's because it's 500% easier. And I've learned something about that in a way that, and I'll go into this because the 500% increase in enjoyable mutual sexual activity is a big part of calming down the traumatized, frightened brain. I have complex PTSD from early childhood abuse, from subsequent therapeutic abuse, from shame and isolation, from heightened sensitivity, et cetera, et cetera. And orgasm, comfort, cuddling, these are all things that are phenomenal calmers to this hyper-alert area of the brain. So let's kind of go through like why the 500% increase. The first thing is a different way of looking at sexual relationships, meaning I would say that the dominant language of a Filipina speaks to comfort. I feel comfortable with you. That's it. I feel comfortable with you. And that is the extent of the analysis much of the time. And this is not something I've ever heard coming out of a Western woman's mouth. I'm interested in you, I'm not, I want to this, I think you're this, I agree with your politics, I don't, I think I'm admiring you. There's lots and lots of heady stuff. And there's lots of mental analysis. It's too soon, it's too late, it's this, but I'm that. There's a tremendous amount of mental processing that goes into whether or not a Western woman wants to be a lover. And that's a lot of heady stuff to keep in mind, but I feel comfortable. I'm excited. I feel safe. It's up to you. So these are I feel comfortable. It's up to you. This is much closer to the more animal way of connecting. Like a dog sniffs, smells, relaxes, walks around. Does the dog feel comfortable? Yes, no. It's a biological way of connecting, and trauma is disrupting biology, as is Western culture, right? Mental analysis, doing things that the culture programs and says are good things to do, rather than noticing one's body, one's smell, one's feelings, and following that. That's a Western approach. And so that's one part of it. Another part of it is because there's not an analysis, it's about comfort. And because the Philippine culture respects elders, younger women are, in some cases, more interested in being sexual than older women. And young women are not ruling out sex with an older person based on ageism. So the combination of respect for elders and the lack of ageism, the lack of stigma, is such that the age range since I've arrived has been kind of on the high end, 52, on the low end, I think 23, and in between. And there's literally no push away based on age. So that obviously opens up more possibility for mutual sexual connection. So that's the third benefit in coming here in Palawan as it relates to trauma and PTSD, because good, relaxing sex takes me into my body, and because I'm uncomfortable being in my body, it's one of the few things that is pleasurable enough that I don't mind being totally present in my body during sex. It's also it's also healing, having been attacked as a male in recent decades in the United States. It's currently unpopular to be a male or masculine. The women, when I am a good lover for them, meaning interested in their feelings physically, emotionally, enjoying giving them pleasure, have deeply thanked me. Right? Thank you. That feels really good. Thank you. That feels great. It feels amazing. Thank you. Right? It's a different messaging to the idea that, men are these horrible beings that like to have pleasure. And so that's emotionally, it reduces the threat of being villainized and scapegoated. And the and the ease with which family is brought up. Like, Filipinos understand that family is very important, and that if you're alone, that you're probably suffering on some level because you're not with your family, and that it's important to include you in their family so that you feel a sense of family. So Filipinos are very hospitable. And it's not uncommon if one has a lover to suddenly have a 50-person family. So that, that is very positive, and creates a sense of safety, love, and belonging. The weather, warm and relaxed. The country is atrocious in a number of areas, whether it's roads, whether it's traffic, whether it's, in a number of areas. Now, this creates both anxiety, but it also takes away the addiction to perfectionism, right? So one of the ways that I cope with terror is trying to be perfect, trying to be good enough. And a lot of that falls away when I'm already 5 times better at something than, many locals, right? And so, whether it's, have to have more money, have to be this. Well, if I have more money, I have to be on time if I'm the only person on time. Have to know all these things. If I know, 5-10 times more than the people around me, there isn't that sense of a rat race. And so on that level, there's a calming. The courtesy, the patience with listening, the respect. I would say another, really big positive part is the ability to joke and make silly jokes. And I'll give you an example. I like to come up with riddles, and they just pop into my mind. I spit them out, and then, like everyone else, I try to solve the riddle, because the riddle pops out before I'm clear what the answer is. And so one of these riddles that I left the local immigration department with is, how many pigs to fly a house? And I'll leave you with that one to think about. Kids get it much easier than adults. But the entire immigration office, where I did my visa extension, considered this question for a month. When I came back and renewed my visa, they still, remembered it. They were talking about it. They were delighted to see me. We still don't know how many pigs to fly a house. And this is not something that would go over in a U.S. immigration office. Sir, could we stick to the business at hand? What are you talking about, pigs? We need you to focus. This isn't a game, da-da-da. Americans are, particularly in a government capacity such as immigration, they're proud to be businesslike, i.e. no fun. The Philippines, by contrast, whether it's a police officer, a guard, this and that, they can do both. They can laugh out loud, have a joke, be delighted, and still do their job in the government. And I love that dual relationship. I have the same thing with a security guard in one of the hardware stores where I frequently attempt to steal something, specifically to entertain this security guard, who is delighted. It's a female security guard. She's delighted with the chance to see how I'm trying to steal something on that particular day. And the whole store is into it, right? And so, this is, again, a level of playfulness that I wouldn't even attempt in the United States. I don't think a security guard in the U.S. could take a joke like this. I certainly don't think the police would joke if they called the police. Trying to, it's too much to ask an American to do their job and have a good time. It is not too much to ask a Filipino to have a good time and do their job. And you can ask the security guard out for a date later, and with equal fun and interest. So it's, this is a wonderful aspect of Filipino culture. So I think we're at 5 or maybe 6. The ability to play, and I would say that let's pretend we're at 6, so I'll go on to 7. I just took one of my employees out to dinner, and because her grandson was on, when we were having video calls, the grandson was always, Grandpa, it's me, right? So I said, bring your grandson along, and so he can enjoy seeing me. And of course, he was excited. Oh, and let's bring my daughter. And okay, so now we have a 21-year-old and a 5-year-old or 4-year-old, 4-year-old and 21-year-old. And first of all, the 21-year-old daughter is behaving like a mother to the 4 and 5-year-old, and a very good mother. And so there's a pleasant dynamic. It's not an annoying tantrum-y type of dynamic. Secondly, because of the respect for elders, I asked the 21-year-old, I said, what's on your mind? What's eating up your time, and what's something that nobody understands that you want to talk about? What would you like me to know? And she said, it's about my future. I can't decide. It's on my mind a lot. I'm not quite sure. And so I gave her, a step-by-step process. Make a list of 10 probable great futures. Analyze each one for, how much you like it, how doable it is, what's the time and cost involved, kind of come up with that. Then run it by me, then run it by your mother, then run it by Grok 3. And together we'll come up with a great kind of future to aim at. And she's like, oh yes, I'm going to do that, and downloaded Grok 3 and this and that. This is a 21-year-old woman who would also quite possibly, if we were more compatible in type, would be happy to date me. But as it is, she's smiled, she's relieved, she's excited, and she's off. Her future is pivoting towards a wider future with this 1 3-hour exercise. But the point is, she actually showed interest. She talked about what was really on her mind. She listened, she learned, and her life is better for it. I've never talked with a 21-year-old American who's responded that way in my entire life. Right? So in 50 years in the US, not one 21-year-old American woman has ever responded like that. And her life is better because she did. In other words, she's more intelligent than the average American woman because she's able to receive and benefit from someone who knows more than she does. And as a result, I feel like I'm able to be a mentor, to be an elder, because I'm treated like one. And that's a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose. So I was allowed in a small way to change a young woman's life. And that's in 1 2-hour lovely dinner, right? So the whole thing is fun. I would say the boundaries and the flexibility, as someone who is a bit of a control freak due to feeling overwhelmed with PTSD, having people not be triggered by me is enormously relaxing, right? Like we can cuddle, but then I need you to go sleep in another room because I can't relax and go into a deep sleep around you. Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me. Off they go, right? And can you do this? Okay, right. Can you meet me in an hour? Sure, let's do that. Not text me next week. Like the dinner that I was talking about tonight, I was taking a nap. I had canceled a date because I was starting to get irritated about the lack of communication. And I realized that was a pattern with that woman. And so I thought, that's who she is. I've mentioned it. She's not changing the pattern. So rather than fume about it, just disengage. And so I said, I'd like to disengage because, that's your style, but I want a much better communication. So then the evening's open. I'm feeling a little bit let down, a little bit empty. I call my staff. What are you up to? Have you had dinner yet? No, I haven't quite eaten yet. I'm planning on, frying some fish shortly. Then I meet the grandson. How would you like to meet me at a nice restaurant where we can do that? Oh, okay. When? 35 minutes, right? So it goes from cold call to 35 minutes, and we're having 3 hours of quality time within 35 minutes. Again, I do not know a single American that I can do that with. Now, they're there. I just don't know where they are. I actually started an entire meetup around spontaneous quality time to try and find, are there any people around here who you can call and they say, okay, we'll be right there, or yes, let's do that now. And I could not find it. Hardly anyone signed up for the meetup, and the people that said they wanted to have spontaneous quality time never replied when I invited anything. So, that was that's America. This is the Philippines. A higher quality of time. So much more value, changing a 21-year-old's life in a small degree, having a fabulous time, getting to hold this 4-year-old boy who loves being held. The whole thing was just fantastic. Idea, phone call, 35 minutes later, yes. No fuss, no drama, just there we are. And so I love that. I think that takes us to a point where you can probably understand why the best decision for me as someone suffering from complex PTSD and the shame that comes from acting out some of those protocols of complex PTSD and the loneliness that comes from both the shame, the anxiety about being rejected, the anxiety about being judged, and being rejected and judged for demonstrating symptoms of PTSD, right? So PTSD, the shame of PTSD, the loneliness of PTSD, the frustration of an absence of quality time. I'll just maybe close with the ocean, right? I've been swimming at a little beach 5 minutes away. It costs less than $1, about 50 cents to get entrance to this little private beach, and off I go and often meet several Filipinos who, unfortunately, usually all they do is offer me to join them drinking, which is the local pastime, which I'm not interested in. But I will be invited to drink, and sometimes we'll have some good conversations with people. I met threesome, a man and 2 women, all single, last week at that beach. We chatted for a bit. They loved the conversation. I invited them all out to dinner, and they loved that. And again, these are 20-year-olds. That's never happened to me in the U.S., where there's a lot more ageism. So swimming, of course, good for my health. So this is why moving to Palawan in the Philippines And I guess I'll add to that the lower cost of living, which, because I eat out at 5-star restaurants all the time and have rented a compound. So this little studio here is one room in one of the houses of my 3-house compound. And I did that because I wanted to control noise and who was around me. And so I can give that to my staff, I can give that to my girlfriend, I can invite people to rent that I really like. But the entire compound cost me $1,000 a month. The electrical bill, $200 a month. The water bill, $10 a month. The internet included. And the garden included. Lovely ocean view. So, basically $1,500. And then I have hired a full-time maid for $200 a month, plus a free accommodation. So for $1,500 a month, I have a wonderful maid, gardener, person I enjoy talking with, and 3 houses, nice ocean view. The food is a lot more. That's about $60 a day for, 5-star meals in different places. I have a little electric scooter for $600 that I can tootle around without any fuss. My car is, $6,000 or $7,000, something like that. So maybe it's $8,000 for a car. And I'm viewed as incredibly luxurious. And so, but my house in the Bay Area cost me $5,000. So with food and everything and a full-time maid and this and that and the other, it's maybe, $1,535. Yeah, so it's the same, basically, as just the house. And so that kind of, reduces expenses in a nice way. And so that creates peace of mind. And dental work and dental cleaning is, $100 here, $100 there, as opposed to, $400 just for a cleaning. So these are full panoramic X-rays, $32, right? So those are some of the things that reduce pressure. So if you can pull it off, and I think about $500,000 or more in investments is a reasonable amount. If you can pull it off, I think that moving to a culture like this, perhaps the Philippines, and it's quite friendly to American immigrants, as it is to many. I can get a retirement visa here for roughly $30,000. That includes a $20,000 investment in land. So, best decision I've made in 2025, and some of the ways that my life is significantly better.